What is up, everybody? It's Animac here for AnimeUproar, and today I will be delving into the most recent tragic twist in the Boku no Hero story. A twist that gave many of us some deep feels that we perhaps weren't exactly expecting. When this war arc started and when we saw how much was at stake, I knew that sacrifices would have to be made. With this many intense battles happening at the same time, some important characters would inevitably end up losing their lives. This was indeed confirmed in the latest chapter of the story, and as the war arc continues, I'm afraid that we need to prepare ourselves for some more potential sacrifices and more loss of life. Anyway, there is a lot to talk about and to process, so let's get into it. If you enjoyed the Boku no Hero content right here on the channel and you want us to keep it going, please leave a like to let me know. It really does help. And if you happen to be new to AnimeUproar or you just haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing and hitting that bell to turn on all notifications. A big thank you to all of our AnimeUproar patrons who make videos like this one possible. With YouTube being as crazy as ever, patron support really means a lot. I'll talk more about our patrons at the end of the video, but now please be warned that this video will contain Boku no Hero manga spoilers. As I already mentioned, we are dealing with the very latest events in the Boku no Hero story, and the manga is far ahead of the anime, so please proceed with caution. You have been warned. Chapter 266 starts off in the same epic moment that the previous chapter ended, with Dabi ambushing Hawks and scorching him with his deadly blue flames. However, even though it had looked very bad for Hawks in the previous chapter, using his unbelievable speed, Hawks is actually able to get away from Dabi's flames before he is completely consumed by them. What's more, Hawks actually grabs Twice and moves him out of the way of the flames. Dabi was too busy trying to burn Hawks to a crisp to even think about the fact that Twice was also gonna get caught up in the crossfire, which I think gives us some pretty important insight into Dabi's psyche. This man is focused on one thing and one thing only: scorching heroes, and he is not very committed to things like friendship, camaraderie, or actually promoting the cause of the Paranormal Liberation Front. Now, even though Hawks managed to withstand Dabi's initial attack, he did not come out of the exchange unscathed. In fact, parts of Hawks' body are severely burnt, and it seems that his entire right wing has been burnt off. As Dabi points out, many of the weapons that Hawks uses, which are of course his feathers, have now been burned away. And so, thanks to this surprise attack, Hawks is nowhere near 100%. In a matter of seconds, Hawks went from full power to severely weakened, although thankfully still alive. The injured Hawks notices that Dabi doesn't seem at all surprised by Hawks' betrayal, something that I mentioned in my previous MHA video. It's almost as if Dabi expected this to happen, and Hawks asks him outright whether Dabi had figured out what was going on and whether Hawks' true mission had been exposed without him even realizing it. But Dabi says that whether Hawks was exposed or not, Dabi never trusted him from the start. And this is the key takeaway for me. I don't think Dabi knew for sure that Hawks was a traitor. I don't think he had any evidence, and so he couldn't expose Hawks to the rest of the Liberation Front. But Dabi never trusted Hawks, and let's face it, he probably never trusts anyone, and that is why this betrayal did not surprise him. If you literally never trust anyone, then you will never be caught off guard when someone tries to betray you. You will always be expecting the worst case scenario. In his inner monologue, Hawks acknowledges that his wings have been severely burnt, and this is bound to greatly impede his ability to fly. What's more, Hawks has been cornered within a fairly tight space by a villain whose quirk allows him to basically scorch everything around him. And this is pretty much the worst case scenario for Hawks. Being cornered within a tight space without an escape route is an incredibly difficult situation to be in, and this is basically the only scenario in which Hawks cannot exploit his superior speed to his advantage. On top of that, Hawks cannot forget that neutralizing Twice and his insanely overpowered quirk has to be the priority. Twice's Sad Man's Parade is potentially strong enough to ruin the entire raid on its own if Twice is able to get away and launch the onslaught. So on top of worrying about Dabi, Hawks has to do everything within his power to prevent Twice from unleashing his super move. Hawks notices that Twice has also been injured, but not fatally. Despite this major complication involving Dabi, Hawks appears to still be determined to capture Twice alive and to take him in rather than just killing him. For that reason, Hawks is still thinking about a way to escape and take Twice with him, but his options are narrowing quickly. Hawks simply cannot allow Twice to escape under any circumstances because that would mean that Sadman's parade will be unleashed upon the heroes. But at the same time, Hawks also doesn't want to kill Twice because he knows that deep inside, Twice is not a bad person. Keep in mind that killing Twice is the only way to truly ensure that the villain won't be capable of posing an existential threat to the heroes. Killing Twice would also be a lot easier than going through the trouble of capturing him and literally carrying him off to safety. Especially with Dabi ready to scorch Hawks at any moment, and the fact that Hawks is now seriously injured certainly isn't helping. But despite Hawks telling Twice not to move and not to resist, Twice jumps out of the way and calls on Dabi to destroy Hawks with his flames. Dabi unleashes the devastating power of his quirk yet again, and although Twice definitely feels the burn from the flames, he survives. As for Hawks, it doesn't appear that he was quite as lucky because he seems to have taken a direct hit. He didn't get out of the way, and he didn't appear to have dodged the flames in time. Thinking that the threat posed by Hawks may have been eliminated, Dabi tells Twice to run out the door and take on the heroes. According to Dabi, Twice alone could get rid of all the heroes on his own under the right circumstances. And so Twice runs off in the opposite direction from where Hawks had been standing before the flames seemingly consumed him. Twice begins the process of cloning himself over and over again as he heads for the exit, while Dabi continues to stand in the same spot, still cautiously watching the aftermath of his attack on Hawks. But then, as Twice and his clones head for the door, Hawks suddenly flies in and cuts off Twice's escape route. It seems that Hawks must have jumped out the window just as Dabi's flames were rushing at him, and he then flew around the building in order to appear again on the other side of the room. Hawks appears to have carried all of this out with only one functional wing, which is insane. And as Twice screams for him to get out of the way, Dabi calls out to Hawks and refers to him by his real name. Hawks is surprised that Dabi knows his real name, and he wonders who Dabi really is. Oh, I don't know. Could it be that Dabi is actually Toya Todoroki, the son of Endeavor, and he knows Hawks' true identity as a result of their mutual connection to Endeavor? Crazy theory, I know. Literally no one has ever thought of this one before, but let's move on. Hawks doesn't have much time to think about Dabi's true identity because Dabi unleashes yet another massive wave of blue fire directly at the hero. Meanwhile, the injured Twice is determined to help the others, to help his friends. He still feels responsible for all of this, for everything that happened, and he is desperate to protect the people closest to him, the League of Villains. They are the only thing that he lives for, and he will do anything to make things right. Twice feels that his entire life has been nothing but a series of failures and getting tricked and backstabbed. It has been a pathetic and meaningless existence. For Twice, the only light at the end of the tunnel have always been his friends, and he just can't let them down now, not again. He can't live with the guilt of allowing yet another one of his friends to die due to his own foolish and naive nature. Elsewhere inside the mansion, Toga and Mr. Compress are being attacked by a hero who shoots giant snakes out of his wrists. And it doesn't look too good for them at the moment because they both appear to be firmly trapped inside the jaws of the snakes. The hero tells them to give up because this is the end of the League of Villains, but before the hero can finish his sentence, Twice smashes him from behind and lays him out flat. Toga and Compress are both happy to see Twice and they thank him for rescuing them, and Compress tells Toga that they might as well just go hide in the bunker now because Twice is about to take care of the heroes with his epic Shadow Clone Jutsu. Clearly Compress has high expectations of Twice and his newly reawakened quirk, but unfortunately for them, Twice has some bad news. He can't clone himself. In fact, he can barely hold himself together. Trying to keep himself whole feels like trying to hold in a big fart. Twice apologizes again to his friends for allowing all of this to happen, for allowing himself to be betrayed by Hawks, thereby putting everybody in danger. Toga and Compress aren't quite sure what Twice is talking about, but Twice then approaches Toga and returns her handkerchief to her. This is the same handkerchief that Toga had used to cover Twice's face after his mask had ripped apart. Back then, Twice became mentally unstable whenever he wasn't wearing his mask, and Toga's handkerchief gesture saved him from losing his mind and splitting apart during an important moment in the story. Twice apologizes one more time, and he tells Toga that he has never made such a good friend as her. In that moment, as he looks at Toga's shocked face, Twice concludes that he has actually led a really blessed life. Just moments earlier, Twice had been thinking that his entire life had been a series of failures. And just before that, Hawks had said that Twice was a good guy who was dealt a bad hand in life. However, upon seeing Toga's face, Twice changes his mind and he changes his whole perspective on life. He says that his life wasn't filled with bad luck. In fact, he was happy to be here. He was happy as can be because he met and got to know such great friends. With that, Twice's body disintegrates and only the handkerchief remains. It turns out that back inside the room with Hawks and Dabi, when Twice tried to escape the room as Dabi launched his fire blast at Hawks, Hawks had managed to catch up to the real Twice and he had driven one of his feather swords into the real Twice's body. The real Twice was killed by Hawks, and only his final clone survived for long enough to save Compress and Toga. Twice, the real Twice, is dead. Although to be fair, we didn't actually get to see the conclusion of that scene in which Twice actually died. So we don't know if it was Hawks who actually killed him in the end, or if it was maybe Dabi's flames. We also don't know what happened to Hawks in this moment. It definitely looks like Hawks caught up to Twice and ended his life with one of his feather swords, although we don't actually see the final moment. But it's important to remember that Dabi's flames were hot on Hawks' trail. Did Hawks manage to kill Twice and get away? Or did he actually sacrifice himself to kill Twice because taking the time to kill Twice actually allowed Dabi's flames to catch up to him? My guess is that Horikoshi wouldn't kill off two major characters within the span of like 2 seconds, so I'm thinking that Hawks probably got away, but we can't know for sure until we see it with our own eyes. And unless all of this was some pretty major misdirection, including fake clones and Dr. Ujiko and who knows what else, it certainly appears that regardless of what happened to Hawks, Twice is definitely dead. Assuming that this is true, how will the villains react now? Without a doubt, Toga will be devastated. Compress and Spinner will be pretty sad, but Dabi could easily have been the one to kill Twice himself multiple times. He showed very little concern for Twice's safety, and he launched his flames at Hawks without thinking about the collateral damage that might affect Twice. Hawks even pointed this out to Dabi, telling him that his wanton attacks were going to kill Twice as well, but Dabi didn't seem to give this a second thought. This chapter definitely gave us a lot to think about. It reminded us of what an interesting, complex character Twice turned out to be. And even though he was of course a villain who did bad things, I think that most of us are feeling some degree of sadness for what happened to Twice. He was definitely a deeply flawed character, but he was also a deeply human character, and that made him a unique and memorable villain. This chapter also gave us a stark reminder about what kind of person Dabi truly is and where his priorities lie. Unlike Twice, Dabi doesn't care about friendship, he doesn't care about his comrades, and he certainly doesn't care about the paranormal liberation ideology. Dabi's motivations are far darker and far more sinister, and they probably stem from his traumatic childhood. A childhood that we technically don't know anything about, but a childhood that I'm willing to bet involves our boy, Enji Todoroki. So, what does all of this mean for the rest of the arc? Toga is about to lose it, which will most likely become a problem for the heroes, since Toga's quirk has also awakened recently and she will be anxious to use it in order to avenge Twice. With that said, Twice's death is a major blow for the villains because now the massive threat posed by Sadman's parade has been neutralized. Hawks has completed his mission, although in the end, the mission might have cost Hawks a lot, both physically and mentally. Not only is Hawks severely injured or worse, but I'm sure that having to kill Twice after everything that the two of them have been through together will take a severe psychological toll on the young hero. For both the heroes and the villains, things will never be the same again. Let me know what you guys think. What are your thoughts on Twice's apparent death? And do the events of the chapter change your opinion of either HEX or Dabi? Finally, what do you think will be the consequences of Twice's death for this war arc as a whole? Be sure to share your thoughts with me down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more Boku no Hero content right here on the channel, please leave a like to let me know. And if you happen to be new to AnimeUproar or you just haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell to turn on all notifications. If you don't go through the trouble of clicking the bell and then selecting the option that says all, you're gonna miss a lot of our videos. It's just how YouTube works. So if you want to make sure that you are notified and that you stay up to date, especially since many of our videos are time sensitive, please subscribe and hit that notification bell and select that option that says all. You can also follow me on Twitter and or Instagram at AnimeUproar for all the latest channel and Boku no Hero news and updates. I want to give a huge thank you to all of our AnimeUproar patrons who make videos like this one possible. Special thanks to Baby Ray, disciple of Lord Twigo himself. And I can't forget all our the one tier patrons, the ones who rise above all other clans, including Ingrata, Alolan Atom, The World, Steelers, The School Bus, Tyson Quirino, A Quiet Respect, Pate Heffa, and Chris Loki. Finally, big thanks to all of our Pro Hero tier patrons, including the one and only Gilgamesh, Nothing But a Fan, Jason Wilson, Odin, Anatoly Kazatsky, Alpha Dio, Angel Cruz, Team Sparky65, Rohan Kapoor, Cricket XP, $50 Beat, Ted No Ted, Jalter, Joe Stanton, Very Gucci, Jessica K. LaFond, Alicia Octer, Levi, Emperor Otaku, and JCC Waka. If you enjoy our videos and you feel that they provide value for you, consider supporting us on Patreon. Even a single dollar will give you access to our patron exclusive Discord, and your name will appear in our videos along with these legendary people. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, see ya, Space Cowboys.